This toy comes with something that can really open up a kid's imagination. Its own legend.
He-Man! Skeletor is his enemy.
It's the Masters of the Universe collection. And for my kids, the legend begins here with Castle Grayskull.
It holds the powers of the universe.
He-Man, Skeletor has captured Castle Grayskull. We must stop his evil power. To Grayskull!
Defeat He-Man's forces, but leave him to me.
Here I am, Skeletor.
He-Man! Skeletor is getting away!
But Castle Grayskull is safe with us. Nothing's safe while Skeletor is out there.
And so the legend continues in this Masters of the Universe collection. And in the imagination of my kids. Look for it. It's new. From Mattel.
It is 10 a.m. on a Saturday, or whatever time you decide to watch this. I'm Robo. This is The Rewind. Woo! I have not talked about the Yolopark Transformers AMK Pro Series Generation 1 Optimus Prime model kit in a whole week. I don't usually track something this closely as updates come along. It's usually the original solicitation, maybe if there's more pertinent information, but I just can't help myself here. The power of Prime compels me. If you remembered back to last week, I was worried that Megatron was too large when standing next to Optimus Prime. There was a bulkiness, a thickness, a tallness, the size of the head. For some reason, I looked at the official promo pics and thought, are they not quite scaled to be together? Thankfully, this week, that toy guy showed off pictures of his pre-production sample, and I don't know what I was even worried about. Yes, Megatron does have a little thickness when compared to Prime, but they just look stunning together. Not that I was filled with doubt and worry, just that it's nice to get some confirmation before screaming, oh, this figure and this company sucks, right? Oh. But I also wanted to swing back around to the Yolopark Transformers AMK Pro Series Generation 1 model kits, because over the past few weeks I've been saying, man, I wish they would show that Starscream they've been talking about for a while. And in each of those comment sections, y'all said something like, they've shown Starscream, and I'm all, nuh-uh, and you're, uh-huh, and I'm like, no, that's the mini series, the smaller versions, and you're like, check your hard drive. So I did that, and there it was. From last October, here is pictures of Starscream standing next to Optimus Prime, who's standing next to Megatron at Winter Festival. Looking amazing, slightly smaller than the other two. And those two standing next to each other, giving us a perfect look at what they would look like next to each other. I knew that picture was there. I knew this picture existed. I just meant, out in the real world, not a company photo. And I wanted to see Starscream painted up. And that's what I meant. Y'all are the ones misunderstanding. This wasn't a case of me forgetting 6 months ago. Okay, it was a case of me forgetting what happened 6 months ago, but a lot's happened since then, right? But now that I'm rediscovering this, seeing Starscream all in grayscale, visions of Thundercracker and Skywarp are dancing through my head. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. In a case of, it may be old news to you, but it's new news to me because, hello, I'm Robo. I'm old. I've built this whole channel and my reputation on the fact that I don't know things, or I forget shit all the time. But there are some new Mattel Masters of the Universe cartoon collection card backs to pour over. Roy Juarez, the package designer for the line, has posted up pictures of the packages for the upcoming Filmation-inspired Teela and Trapjaw. And when they first went up, I thought, not realizing that there's been reviews of both right here on YouTube for the past month or so. I've said this before, but I don't go out hunting reviews of figures that I'm excited about. The way I shoot is I get the package, I open it up, it's my first impression, and then I go out and see what other people on YouTube are saying about it. So if you already possess the knowledge that I'm about to unlock the mysteries of, the timestamps are down there. You can just skip on to the next thing. But if this is news to you, You and me, we're together in this. Look, we are getting a Mattel Masters of the Universe cartoon collection, Stratos and Merman. It's not a huge surprise. These are the next logical choices for this toy line. It's just, again, like I said a minute ago, it's nice to have confirmation and to see them on a card back. That's just one step closer to plastic in my hands. They're all queued up, ready to go, in a style that I've quickly fallen in love with. Seriously, I can't get enough of this line. They're just fun. And sometimes that outweighs the need for intricate sculpting and infinite movement and 500 paint hits. Oh, I love all that stuff too, but here it's the simplicity that sings to me. Without being so simple that it feels like I'm just buying actual vintage figures. No, that's not a shot at Origins either. That does a fantastic job of feeling new and fresh while still being classic and nostalgic. What I'm trying to say is, Mattel, you've captured magic with several different Masters lines that appeal to different people for different reasons. You gotta keep that going. This week, 5K Toys showed early prototype pictures of the Rage Toys Samurai Force Summer. Or the third party, not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not Michelangelo. No. We've had spring in our hands for a while now, and we've been staring at pictures of autumn. We knew what to expect. I was just talking about the joys of simplicity, and this is the polar opposite, while still being joyful. The realistic sculpt work and the ability to move is what brought us to this table. And I'm gonna assume that it's also gonna have beautiful paint apps with nice shading, just like the other two. All that with Mikey-specific accessories, like nunchucks, the headphones, the skateboard. And yeah, those do seem oversized, but I like how that plays into the fact that turtles are smaller than humans. They're taking real-world objects and just putting them on. They're using them, and it looks appropriate. I'm also digging the chest harness here. It's heavier than Donatello and Leonardo, but it also plays into a design aspect, I think. Donnie has the strap going one way, Leo has the strap going the other way. I'm not sure if I pointed in the right direction. If not, reverse that. Mikey's gonna have two straps going straight up and down. What if Raph has straps that cross? Then we know that I was right. But I doubt it, because I'm usually not. I'm noticing peg holes in the shoulders and back though. I'm going to guess that those are for the eventual samurai accessories, because this is Samurai Force, not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They are mutant turtles who happen to come with ninja parts that may skew towards teenagery, but this is Samurai Force. Another thing that jumps out at me is that this is added bicep and thigh swivels, and autumn and spring don't have those. I wish that articulation scheme had been worked out from the beginning, instead of just jumping right into spring, looking all beautiful, going on the shelf, and then later on, what? There's still improvements being made? There's no pre-order for this just yet, but it's nice to see the line progressing. And hopefully we'll see the completion of the team soon, at some point in the near future. I'm also realizing the seasons kind of work into the personalities. Leo is optimistic. Summer is kind of the party time. Autumn is cool and collected. And then winter is harsh and rough. I love this kind of thing. LooseCollector sent along update pictures for their executive replicas coffin trio. It looks like Chaotica, Lady Satanis, and La Muerta are coming right along. But these have already been solicited. We've already seen the pretty promotional pictures, and they should be dropping in April. How about a little something a bit more teasy? Here's a little glimpse at LooseCollector's Rob Liefeld Extreme Universe line. Can't you just feel the 90s oozing off these? Ugh. Now, I don't know weapons, real world or comic book, and I'm not familiar with Liefeld's creation's past image, but I can just picture these being held by big, muscly people with lots of pouches all over them on my shelf. I mean, it's not my absolute favorite era of comics, but I just like when 3D objects capture moments in time, like snapshots. It's a beautiful thing. But wait, there was another picture in there too. Again, I'm not familiar, so I don't know who this is. I just know that it's a nice, clean body that's about the size of the Marvel Legends cable. And one, I'm excited to get the character itself, even though I don't know it. I just know, hey, it's 90s, it's extreme, but I also may have customizing ideas for this size and shape of body. Ooh, I'm definitely keeping an eye out here. Hey, did somebody say something about 90s comic book artists that are now making their creations into action figure form? This week, McFarlane Toys announced the Spawn Gold Label Big Bad Toy Store exclusive Mandarin Spawn Black and White Accent Edition. Nailed it. Which is a really long-ass name for what is essentially a repainted Mandarin Spawn. There you go. Plain and simple. It's black and white, but not really, because it also has some red accents, but also some silver on the armor bits. Sure, it's not as nicely painted as the original Mandarin Spawn from, holy shit, 25 years ago. But I would argue that this is just as beautifully sculpted, and it can move a whole lot more. I don't have to argue that part. It moves a whole lot more. There is a method to the madness, though. You may have already picked it up, but it took me way too long to realize that this is Big Bad Toy Store's website and logo colors. Maybe not the silver, but the reds and the blacks and the whites. Yeah, I mean, it's right there. That makes me want it even more because it's rooted somewhere in the community. Well, okay, I also love metallic red poking out of silver, white, and black, so I'm gonna have to ponder long and hard on this. If you're interested, though, the link is in the description, along with the links to everything else I'm talking about. This may surprise you, but I don't know a lot about Ghostface. I know. Yeah, crazy. I haven't watched any of the movies since the 90s, so that tells you how far behind I am. But it's not like I don't recognize the character. It's iconic. My interest here is purely visual, and so I can only speak on those merits. Mezco making this in their 1/12 collective line is like peanut butter and jelly. This plays to all of Mezco's strengths. The baggy robe with the hood, the plastic mask, the weapons. If that doesn't scream 1/12 collective, I don't know what does. See what I did there? This just looks fantastic. And you take the figure and put it into their moody lighting, it just gives off an uneasiness. And I think that's really appealing. You know, I don't want to stare at these pictures too long and then glance out my window at night. It's that kind of feeling. Or when you walk into a room and it's dark and you're fumbling for a light switch and it's taken too long and... My house also has a hallway right down the middle where we keep all the doors closed so there's no natural lighting. So when I walk from the office to the kitchen, I kind of glance and I can't see the end of it. And my mind starts... What's going on down there? That's the feeling I get when I look at these pictures. And that makes me want it even more. Although there is this picture. I don't know if this is based on something serious from the movies or what, but this gives me scary movie vibes. And I like that too. That makes me happy. It even has a hand with sculpted popcorn in it as an accessory. That's just awesome. Overall, this is one of those cases where I don't have a lot of attachment, but the strength of the figure itself really calls to me. And I don't know what to do. Do I really need a Ghostface for to put up next to the Crow and some of my other Mezco figures? I don't have that character anywhere. Since I recorded early last week, much like I'm doing this week, we'll get to that, I just missed the announcement of Super 7's G.I. Joe. Are we doing this? We gonna do it? Ultimates! Wave 6. This celebrates the ladies of G.I. Joe and Cobra in their DIC color schemes. And when I first saw them, I thought they looked weird. And then I realized I've never seen any episodes of that cartoon. I guess that's why I don't know Metalhead either, and some of the other characters that's been popping up lately. The base figures here are just repaints for the most part, I think. I did compare side by side and I didn't notice any big differences. But then the accessories are all new, I think. Don't quote me on that. They may have come with somebody else somewhere, but most of them were new. Baroness is in dark blue and can kind of be considered a 2-pack, since it comes with Cobra Commander in snake form. Lady J is dressed in teal with blue boots, and then Scarlet is labeled purple because she has purple, but it throws my brain off because Scarlet is a color too, so Scarlet purple just makes me... Even stranger, does this look like WWE superstar Becky Lynch to anyone else? And it's not just because of the red hair, it's the facial structure, it's the eyes. Speaking of that, looking at the face paints, all three of these look really good. I know they're digital renders. I know we've seen this before, but if Super 7 can get these through production looking like this, like they have some of the other G.I. Joe figures, maybe some of the alternate heads here can be used to spruce up the older releases. Yes, I'm speaking mostly about Lady J, but the smoky eye makeup on Scarlet and then the tinted lenses for Baroness, those would look pretty sweet on the older figures too. And that brings me back around to where we left the last rewind, smack dab in the middle of Hasbro's classified series render reveals for G.I. Joe Day. Like I said, I recorded on Thursday, they were doing the reveals that day, I had to come out and shoot. They just kept on going. We talked about Doc, we talked about Torch, both look absolutely amazing. Then they revealed Tiger Force, Roadblock, and Tripwire. First, my only big exposure to Tiger Force has been the classified series. Where's the Battle Cat camo? I love the Battle Cat camo. In fact, I'm leaving a couple of those releases as my mains. So, Tiger Force, go! That was their battle cry, wasn't it? Tiger Force, go! Second, is Roadblock really that much bigger than other characters, or is Tripwire smaller? I don't have Tripwire, so I don't know. But I have Roadblock, and I've never thought, God dang, this thing's huge next to the rest of them. But maybe he is. Maybe I have thought that before. Third, lots of accessories here, including Roadblock's signature weapon, so that's a cool get too. After that, I'm changing up the order a bit based on my own excitement, but don't think that I am passing on Jinx. Quite the opposite. I've heard some gripes about the sleeves and everything, but to me, someone who isn't as well versed in G.I. Joe as other people, it's Jinx. Ninja, red, beautifully sculpted, head options, weapons. Jinx. Gimme. Then there was Naugahyde. You didn't expect him next, did you? I became a fan of this Dreadnought later in life, which sounds like I'm giving my own eulogy. Robo loved action figures, and his family. And his action figures. No, I didn't learn about this character until I was an adult, until later. But this design, it just works. It's calling my name. I will admit that the Warthog is a huge factor when it comes to that, because it's close enough to a Razorback to call it a Razorback. I don't know the difference, so I'm just gonna call it a Razorback, and if anybody has a problem with that, they can hunt me down and we can hash it out. That's what it comes down to. That's the way I'm gonna play with my toys. That was all fine and dandy, but then they threw in an eye patch wearing monkey, and that's Robo Kryptonite. That is that slight silliness that makes me love this property and this line. This is high on my list, but you know what's higher? Something that's been on my top 5 since the line began? Night Creeper. That may seem like an odd pick, but like I go on and on about, I only had a very limited amount of G.I. Joe toys when I was a kid, and this was one of them. Come on, a purple ninja with a wavy sword, and a hook sword, and a crossbow that shot 5 arrows at the same time? Of course this was one of the few, the proud, the little Robo Joe collection. And yes, I now know that the arrows are mounted there for quick access, but as a kid, boy, it just shot all 5. And I'm not talking about straight ahead, that would make too much sense. I always figured that they shot out at predetermined angles, and Night Creeper had to wrangle his enemies into certain positions and then fire, and doesn't that seem so much more realistic? I did know enough to realize that you stab somebody with a hooky sword, and there's no coming back from that. You rip it that, and then the wavy sword's for slicing, like a steak knife, only bigger and wavier. Those are some of the things I thought about whenever I was playing with toys on a bunched up bedspread or out in the ditch by the road. It was a different time, and now I am super happy that I can buy plastic playthings that remind me of those days. Again, those snapshots in time. Hasbro also hit us with a new Marvel Legends Spider-Man Animated Series 2-pack pre-order this week. That is, well, kinda newish. It's mostly reuse, and it doesn't feature Spider-Man. So, na-na. But it is Daredevil versus Hydro Man, and at first I was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. I already have that Daredevil and that Hydro Man, but the more I looked, Now, you know I missed a lot of cartoons in the 90s, and Spider-Man was no different, so there's not that attachment here. You also know that I'm not a big fan of cell shading, going as far as removing it from several figures in order to get comic book versions of them. So why do I feel so compelled to get this Daredevil? Because of the cell shading and the animated look. Maybe it's because Hasbro seems to have improved the paint process a bit. It doesn't just look like blotches everywhere. There's a method to it. That and the cross-hatching makes it a little bit more artistic, more comic booky, so I can kind of fudge this over in that direction. Plus, it's spicing up what is essentially a red spandex suit. Easy, stop right there. Take your hands off that keyboard. I know it's supposed to be a red suit with slightly darker boots and gloves and logo and eyes. But man, the way I think of Daredevil, always, you know, the mean streets in darkness, this just works. This just makes it so much more dynamic. Plus, it's on the fancy new Spider-Man body that we got in that 3-pack with Elektra and Bullseye. If you didn't want to get that because you were getting 2 other characters that you may or may not have wanted, you would have bought it if you may have wanted it. That's a stupid sentence. But if you didn't want to buy that pack but wanted that Daredevil, here's another chance. And you only have to get a Hydro Man with it. But the more I look at that, the more I love it too. Sure, you can see some of the innards because of the translucent plastic, but making him in an all-water form, that's just cool. The head is a new sculpt, which may be one of the few new pieces in this set, but with the features painted, the eyes, the eyebrows, the mouth, I love that too. I do wish he came with all the accessories of the original release, because while the foot splashes are neat, he needs those big old hand things. I do appreciate the pretty promo pics presenting a different way of using those foot splashes though. I've always just had him on his feet. I never thought to put one on his hand and have him and then putting those foot splashes on other characters like his powers actually being used. Still, the huge hands would look sweet in this lighter blue, and that's what makes me hesitate to steal those and then leave that Hydro Man in just human form and power this one all the way up. I don't think they're gonna match in color. Then again, it's water. It can be different shades of blue, so I guess we'll see. Basically, this has been a roller coaster. Again, I've looked at it and thought, animated, Spider-Man. I already have Daredevil. I already have Hydro Man. Don't need it. What? They're just great looking Marvel figures. On the subject of liquid, Tamashii Nations has solicited their Bandai Spirits water effect. And, you could use this with that Hydro Man I was just talking about. Spruce him up on your shelf, make him more dynamic in some ACBA. Again, the colors may not match, it may be a darker blue, but the more of that color you add, the less out of place other darker blue pieces would get. So you get the hands from the first release, the foot splashes from there, this swirly twirling around it. Ooh, that's a hell of a Hydro Man. Or whatever you want to use it for, you know? I'm just saying, the timing is a bit odd, right? Like all these big corporate toy companies conspiring to get all our money while the getting's good. But I'm not gonna think too much about that. I'm just enjoying what I got with what little time I have left. No, that's not me announcing health problems or anything like that. I'm just saying, I'm older. And I know eventually I'm gonna shuffle off. And I'm gonna do my damnedest to enjoy that time from here until then. Hopefully I'll go out with a smile on my face, living life like I wanted to, and messing with as many action figures as I could. That's the goal. Robo loved his close friends. And also action figures. And that's all I got for this week, because, like I kinda hinted at, I'm recording early again. I'm helping a buddy at a Comic-Con in Springfield, Missouri, so we've got to leave out for that in just a bit. So I'm recording, I'm getting all my thoughts down on the action figures that's been showed in the past, well, okay, it's 5-6 days instead of 7, but you know what I mean. Oh, and for those of you who caught my centimeter pronunciation last week, that's just kind of an inside joke. Back at my old job, every now and then I would say kilometer, and there was this guy every time that would say, "Do you mean kilometer?" And so I would say, "So is it millimeter, centimeter, decameter, decimeter? And he would be like, and so it kind of became a back and forth. And when I said centimeter last week, or I was gonna say centimeter last week, it came out centimeter. And shit, I don't know. I look forward to all your comments of how to actually pronounce kilometer. As always, special thanks to the Patreon. This week, they get a little tease of the Rocketeer review that I'm working on for next week. And I also want to express my appreciation for them doing a little troubleshooting. They got an early look at Vives' First Friday with Brian Flynn, and I edited the video. Oh, well, okay, first, DaVinci Resolve was like, hey, there's an update. Do you want to do that now? And I was like, no. And apparently I pissed it off because I went through, did the timestamps, a little editing, processed, uploaded to YouTube, posted it to Patreon, and it was 10 minutes. I had several people say, hey, there's no sound after 7 seconds. Good catch, because I would have went all the way and it would have posted on YouTube, and that would have been even worse. So I was able to redo it, repost it, and now it's good. So thank you, everyone on Patreon, for the support too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not just using you as a test group. Everyone's awesome. Do I have anything else? No, I don't think so. I need to open up Megatron, right? I keep talking about that Optimus Prime. I'm seeing more and more pictures. It's getting more and more out there. Looks amazing. I feel like I'm almost to the end of talking about the line without having actually messed with the line. So maybe that'll be in the upcoming weeks. Who knows?